Welcome, Mrs. Rogers. It's so nice to see you again.
You as well.
So thank you for taking the time to discuss Sam's scores.
Yeah, of course. I really just want to understand how he's doing in the class and how he's doing to his other peers. So,
About the second week of March, we took the countrywide test of achievement, and this is just a test to see how the student is progressing throughout the year, and then also how we as teachers are doing. So this specific test tested, a variety of different skills, including like reading, math, language, spelling, listening, signs, all of that good stuff.
Okay.
And so, are you ready to start talking about them?
Yeah, let's get this party going.
Great. So the first thing I want to discuss is going to be the norm reference scores at the top, and basically those are just scores that are compared to a norm group.
Okay, so what's a norm group?
A norm group is a group of students from across the nation that took the test before it was released so that we have something to compare our students to.
Okay.
So this first column is going to be the subtest in their totals. So as you can see, like the bolded letter has like the total reading, total math, language, spelling, listening, science, social studies. The next column is going to be the number of items, or like the number of questions. Raw score is going to be the number they got correct.
Okay.
So for example, in social studies, his raw score was 33, so the number he got correct was 33 out of 40.
Okay.
And I would say that Sam does a little bit better than that in class. For example, we did this project on urban and rural communities, and I had a rubric, and he just checked all the boxes off my rubric, and he did great. He really loves learning about social studies.
Oh, good. I'm really glad. He's always watching the History Channel at home.
Yeah, I can tell. And then pause it.
Okay, so now what about these percentiles? What exactly does that mean? What does that represent?
Yeah, so percentiles can be a little tricky. Biggest misconception that it's a percent, but it is not a percent. It is a percentile, which determines how the student did compared to a norm group, that I mentioned earlier. So for example, when looking at his math, it says that he's in the 93rd percentile. And then if we compare that to our bell graph, we can see the percentile ranges from 1 to 99, and 50 is the average, and so he scored 93. So yeah, you can see that he is above average when compared to the norm group. Did you have any questions on the percentile scores at all, or any of the other subtests?
So, you're saying his math is so great, but then over here, he's having some really big issues with his problem solving. What's going on here?
Okay, that is a great question. So we have to remember that the percentile score is not a percent, it is a percentile. If we go back to the bell curve, we find that 43, right, because it said that he's had a 43 percentile in math problem solving. We find that on the bell curve. It's still in that average range, right? Right here, my lines show the average. So to use the average, he only did a little bit below that average line.
Okay.
So he's doing just fine. He's still doing 43% better than the students in the norm group.
Okay, so that makes sense. Thank you for clearing that up. I was just a little shocked. I thought I was about to have to go home and take away his phone and his PlayStation, all of his electronics. Kids.
Yeah. No need to do that. He's doing really well. If you look at the skill scores, he received 636 for his total mathematics, right here. The scale for that was 2 to 800, and also if we look back on the bell curve, that is above the average. So overall in math, he's doing great.
Okay, good. So what are these right over here? These battery scores, basic battery, what are those?
So the battery scores, so the basic battery score is composed of scores for reading, math, language, spelling, and listening. The reason why that there's the basic and there's the complete is because school districts want to see how they're doing in that foundational, basic subjects first. Make sure they have a strong foundation. And then the complete battery is including the other subjects like science and social studies.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely clears it up for me. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. That's what I'm here for. So one more thing I want to discuss is going to be about the percentile bands. As you can see here, this is where it's located. Within the test, there's a two-point standard error of measurement, which basically means if he was to take this test on another day, he would score 2 points below or 2 points above his scores. For example, when looking at his language mechanics, he was in the 86th percentile. So if he was to take this test again, he would score anywhere between the 84th and the 88th percentile.
Okay.
So another example would be if we were to look at his word analysis, score right here. He was at the 96th percentile, which means he did better than 96% of his norm group.
Okay.
So if he were to take this test again, this band is showing that he would score anywhere between 94th and 98th percentile. So anywhere in between there. Do you have any other questions about the norm scores before we start discussing the criterion scores down here at the bottom?
Nope, go ahead.
Great. I love talking about criterion scores because they break down the skills. Each skill that they think third graders should know by the end of the year. Your son's scores are compared to a set of standards that were determined by content specialists. The NP is going to stand for the number possible. The RS is going to stand for that raw score. And then the low, medium, high is going to show if you did lower than the standard, met the standard, or was higher than the standard.
Okay, so can you explain some of these scores to me so I can get a better understanding to it?
Yes, of course. Let's talk about his sight word score. As you can see, he missed 6 words. Number possible was 16. He only got 10 right, which put him at a lower level than expected. In his essay he wrote over here, you can see that he knows when to apply capitalization, punctuation, and sentence structure. Because these scores are showing that he is above the standard. But when it comes to his spelling and sight words, it could use a little bit more attention.
Okay.
He did seem a little tired on the day that we took the spelling part of the test, so that might be why the score was a little lower than we would like.
Okay, so is that something I should keep an eye on? How can I help him at home?
Yeah, you don't have to do anything crazy. Just little things here and there will make a difference. For example, when you're out to eat, you can have him read the menu. And when you're out and about, like at different stores or places, have him read the signs. To improve his spelling, have him spell those words out to you or write them on a paper whiteboard. If you don't have time to sit down and do that, that is totally fine. He can spell the words out to you like in the air. For example, the word was house. You can spell H-O-U-S-E like in the air. And that will be helpful for him also.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll definitely try to incorporate those when we're running errands.
Great, that sounds awesome. Although he, didn't score as well as we'd like him to in sight words, he is doing a great job at his structural and phonetic analysis. As you can see, he got 10 out of 10 correct for each of these different skills. I think there's quite a few different skills in there.
Okay.
But he was above the average in that. And so I see that phonetic analysis is one of his strengths. I always pull small groups for reading, and the other day we were reading a book that was meant to be a little challenging, trying to bump him up to the next level, and he was able to sound out the words and use his current word knowledge to figure out some of those more tricky unknown words.
Awesome.
I keep track of those right here.
Okay.
I do like a digital running records on here.
Okay, awesome.
And you can see that here.
Okay.
Before we finish up, do you have any questions or concerns about how Sam did on the subtest and the skills?
No, I think you really cleared it up. I think you answered all my questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. I know it can be a lot of information thrown at you at once. So what I have done is I've created this handout for you so you can go home and, use what we talked about to help you go over these scores when I'm not there.
Oh, well, thank you so much. You've been such an amazing teacher. You really are Sam's favorite.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. If there's still any confusion, just let me know. You can call or email.
Okay.
Or come back in.
Awesome. Thanks.